2 years and 5 months ago, to this very month, I made my first $10,000 per month ever. And since that moment, from what I learned in that month, my life completely changed, and I feel like I entered a completely new level of life. And today, within this video, I'll show you how to do the same. How I would step by step start from zero today with all my knowledge and get to 10K per month as soon as possible, because honestly, that's the minimum you need, in my opinion, to start living, to have some basic kind of existence and buy the things you want and live the life you want to live, right? That's really the bare minimum. And I want to show you how to get to that start point where you can start living life within this video. So let's get into this. All right, so this is a document that leads you through the process of how I'd get back to $10,000 per month if I had to start again from zero. 3 years ago, my life really changed a lot. Okay, so that was me 3 years ago. And that was actually not the best time. It was actually one of the worst times I ever had. Why? That was August 16th in 2022. It's this month, 3 years ago. And at that time, I was in Cape Town. I lived my best life. I had a couple of clients and spent money, and I maxed out my credit card. And then all of a sudden, I lost all of my clients in one single month, meaning my income dropped to zero and my credit card was open, and therefore my bank account went into the minus, and I was minus 9,000 euros on my bank account. And that was pretty devastating because I didn't know what to do. I had no clients at that moment. I had basically no income, and it was a pretty rock bottom situation. I felt horrible at first, right? And of course, with time, I learned to get over it and solve those problems. But at first, when you're in that situation, like honestly, I felt really, really, really bad. It was not a pleasant situation at all. And what I then did is I had to rent out my apartment on Airbnb to have some basic income and cover my cost of living. And so I rented out my apartment on Airbnb. And if you now ask, oh, where did you sleep then, Felix? I slept at my parents' place. It was not funny. It's not funny to move back in with your parents because you kind of failed and now have to rent out your apartment on Airbnb. So it was pretty horrible, right? And it was also very embarrassing to tell my friends about that situation, tell my parents about that situation. It was not nice. And it, I remember that feeling of slowly my heart sinking and feeling heavier and heavier and heavier when I realized that I'm losing all my clients at the moment, that there's no income, and the bank account is on minus 9K. That was not funny. I felt horrible, to be honest. So if we now look fast forward to today, because obviously I managed to solve that situation, which I'm very grateful for. So today, my clients, single clients, pay me over $100,000 to work with me. I have absolute financial, time, and location freedom. I was able to move to Dubai just over a year after this picture above. Okay, after the minus 9K situation, after being totally broke, having zero income, just over a year after that, I managed to move to Dubai. It was, to be accurate, it was 1 year and 4 months to be accurate here, right? And now I can live a very beautiful life. And here you can see some pictures of this very beautiful life where I'm very grateful for that I can live today, right? So that's how fast your life can change. That's how fast your life can go from rock bottom to really having a dream life, but only if you have the right vehicle, only if you know how to do it step by step. And that's why we're here today, right? I want to lead you through that process step by step. So if you are in such a similar kind of shitty situation right now that you don't love and you want to get in maybe such a similar situation, right? Where you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, buy whatever you want, travel to the place that you want to travel to, and all of that stuff, which I'm very glad I can say I can do that today. Then stick with me. Let's walk through the process step by step, okay? And we have to start with a question. And the question is, who needs help right now? Okay? And we're talking about businesses here, because I will now show you the easiest way on how to get from 0 to 10K a month. It's the same way that I used to get from 0 to 10K a month, right? But before I show you the actual thing to do, which is pretty easy and pretty life-changing if you see it once, we need to cover a few basic questions so this thing actually works for you. Okay, so who needs help right now? Which businesses maybe have a bleeding neck problem right now? A bleeding neck problem means if someone stabbed you in the neck with a knife and you have a bleeding neck and you're about to die, and I stand next to you and say, hey, here's a magic plaster. It's $10. You're not going to argue about the price. You're just going to give me the $10 and it's a magic plaster. You just apply it. You're healed. Done. Okay. And if I stand next to you in a second variation of this and I say, hey, here's the magic plaster. It's $100,000. And let's imagine you have the $100,000. Then again, you're not going to argue with me. You're just going to give me the money, apply the plaster, see your family again. Everyone's fine, right? So we want businesses that have such a bleeding neck problem because they are not going to argue about the price with us. They just want to start. They just want to send over the money and have their problem solved, right? You need to find people with problems that are urgent and they need to be painful at the same time, because these people should be desperate to solve their bleeding neck problem. Okay, so that means that their issues of these business owners are so severe that they actively search for solutions of their problems and they're ready to pay a lot of money and pay a lot of money very quickly to have that problem solved. Okay, you want those kinds of businesses, because let me tell you, it's not about the actual thing that you do that much. It's about who you sell it to. That's why we need to start with that question. And you might now ask, but Felix, I have no clue which businesses have bleeding neck problems at the moment. I'll show you how to do it in a second. Okay, so first of all, everything comes to your mind. Write that down, okay? Write that thing down, okay? Right after this video, take a pen and paper or your iPhone, whatever, and write all of the industries, all of the types of businesses that come to your mind that have a bleeding neck problem. Write them down, okay? The next thing, use ChatGPT to research businesses that currently have bleeding neck problems that really need help with the problems, okay? In order to do that, I developed a prompt for ChatGPT that you can use that's insanely good, insanely well programmed to give you the businesses that currently have bleeding neck problems. That's extremely, extremely powerful. If you want that exact prompt, you can just DM me 10K prompts, as you see it written here on Instagram. This is my handle, Felix Ehold, and I'll automatically send over the prompt. Okay, it's not just this one. You will see in a second that we're going to talk about some other prompts as well. And you just DM me that keyword and you receive the prompt right away. All right, so that is the first and very, very important step. Because even if you're selling the right thing and it's very time efficient, you have high margins and so on, but you're selling it to the wrong people, you have the biggest part of the equation wrong. That's why we always have to start here. We always have to start with this question. Who needs help right now? Who has a bleeding neck problem? Then we need to ask a second question. Who is already spending money trying to solve this problem? Because here's the next part of the equation. We don't want to work with business owners who maybe have a big problem, but they're not willing to spend money to solve them. And the easiest indicator to determine whether someone has money to spend is, are they already spending money to solve it, right? That's the easiest indicator. So after finding the bleeding neck problems, you want to figure out who's already spending money on their problems or on solving those problems, okay? Right, and here's a scale that you should look at, okay? So some business owners, they're spending nothing or very little on solving their problems. Some are spending a lot, right? And some of these problems for these business owners are very urgent, and some are not so urgent, okay? And what you don't want people who maybe have high urgency problems, but have low spending power. Like, that's really the danger zone. These are the last people you want. You want business owners who have a high urgency to solve their problem, and at the same time, they have a high spending power and they're already spending money on solving that specific problem. Okay. And again, to figure that out based on these businesses with bleeding neck problems, to figure the ones out that are already spending money to solve their problems, I again have a perfect prompt And you can again just DM me the keyword 10K prompts on Instagram and you'll receive all of these prompts completely for free right away, right? So then we need to ask ourselves a third question. And now we get into the nitty-gritty stuff. How could I leverage AI to solve their problem? Because I'll tell you a story. In the beginning, I answered the first two questions correctly, but what I didn't do is I didn't answer the third question. So I did a lot of these things manually. And this is obviously a problem. Why is this a problem? Because if you do stuff manually to help these business owners solve their problem, then you're investing your own time, but your time is limited. Therefore, obviously also your income is limited. And therefore, the next part in the equation, which is even more valuable, your income and your time invest are always going together, okay? They're always going to be connected, and that's not what you want, okay? You want to disconnect your income from your time input. This is extremely important, and one of the easiest way today is using AI, okay? That's the easiest way to disconnect your income from your time input. To do that, again, a couple of questions that you should now ask based on these companies that you identified so far. What's the root cause of their problem? And first, give this a thought on your own and then use ChatGPT to answer that question. And then the next question, how can you now leverage AI to help solve that root cause of this problem? Okay. And again, there's a prompt, you will see it in a second, for ChatGPT that I also included in that document that you can get completely for free to answer all of these questions very, very accurately. Okay. And then what you want to do, once you've figured out some industries that have bleeding neck problems and at the same time are already spending a lot of money on solving these problems, and you figured out how to leverage AI to solve their problems for them, you want to pick the easiest ones. Because at the beginning, you're going to have so many moving parts in such a business anyways, you want to go with the easiest possible service, okay? So that's what you do here. Just be aware if you now think like, how could I help businesses that already make millions of dollars a year? How could you maybe as a complete beginner help them? That's obviously the same thought that I had in the beginning. And that was also the reality of it, right? I was a 19-year-old kid and I was trying to help million-dollar businesses out, and it worked. Right? So drop that limiting belief right now if you have it, because you probably overestimate the competence of these million-dollar business owners. There are still blind spots that they have, and there are still a lot of problems in their business, and there are still a lot of problems that you could solve, right? With AI as your co-pilot. Step number 4, now that you identified who you can help, how you can help them with AI very easily, right? And by the way, you don't have to be able to code or anything like that for this. You don't need to build any complex system for this, not at all. The only thing you do is you leverage existing AI tools to help these people. That's enough, really, okay? Once you identify all of that, you identify the business owners that you can help, you identified the exact AI service that you can help them with, you obviously need to get some clients, right? So step number 4 is setting up outreach systems for guaranteed client acquisition. So you identified your target market, you mapped out your AI solution, and now you need to set up some acquisition systems to actually get some clients, right? So how do you do that? First of all, you need to pick a channel. Based on the industry that you're going for as client, they are on specific platforms. Different outreach methods make sense for different kinds of industries, okay? For some industries, cold calls work best. For e-commerce clients, for example, cold calls don't work at all. These people don't pick up their phone ever, right? So you need to find the right channel to reach these people, right? Because if you pick the wrong one here, and if you pick cold calls, for example, and your target market are e-com business owners, you will have no success and you will be totally devastated. But the only thing that went wrong, maybe you had a perfect niche, a perfect service, even a perfect script, but you just chose the wrong channel for that audience, right? So you need to make the right decision here. Again, use ChatGPT to help you with that. So then you need to calculate the required volume, okay? So in that Google Docs, with all of these AI prompts, I will also include this calculator here that helps you identify the number of outreach actions that you need to do every single day in order to reach your goal, in order to really make it inevitable to reach your goal. And then you take that number and multiply it by 2. okay? You just do double the amount. That will already be unreasonable for you to not get clients with it, okay? If you do that, it's really hard to fail. Because a mentor of mine once said, we never reach our goals. We never reach our highest targets. We have to set up systems for ourselves that make it hard to not succeed, that make it hard to not reach the goal. That's the name of the game. So once you have that, then step number 5 is your daily setup. Because at the end of the day, if you have all the actions right, you're going after the right market, you have a good script, you have good cold emails, you have the perfect AI solution to help those people. If you, as a person, are not acting as someone who makes more than 10K per month, then you will never reach that point. If you don't feel like someone who makes more than 10K a month, you will never reach that point. You need to feel and act like such a person way before you realize that actual income, okay? This will always follow. The success follows your inner state. And you might now think this is some woohoo and spiritual BS, but it's not. It's just the reality of things. You won't reach those 10K a month if you don't feel like making 10K a month, right? I've broken this down into 4 easy tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis. And that's all you need to achieve that. First of all, that's the first hour of your day. You make sure that what we just talked about in step number 4, this number of outreaches per day, that you're hitting that every single day. You dedicate the first hour of the day towards that. And here's very important. This does not mean that you should cold call in this first hour of the day. This does not mean that you should send out emails manually in this first hour of the day. This does not mean that you should send out Instagram DMs in this first hour of the day. This only means that you beforehand should have set up systems that send out these, for example, AI personalized emails. And I have a video up here on YouTube that shows you exactly how to leverage AI to send thousands of emails per day that are personalized and are very, very good to really get you positive replies and get you appointments. Therefore, you should have set that up beforehand. And that first hour of the day, you only make sure that the system is running smoothly and is actually, for example, sending out 1,000 AI personalized emails per day. You dedicate the first hour of the day towards that. Then the second hour of the day, again, a 1 hour block, you improve your outreach funnel. Okay, you just analyze, okay, how many emails am I sending out? Then how many replies am I getting? What's the reply rate? What is my industry standard? You can use ChatGPT to look that up always for my reply rate. Am I hitting that? Okay, then look at the next part of the funnel. Okay, how many calls am I booking from that? How many calls are showing up? Then how many of those show ups do I close? And for every single part in that process, you analyze the conversion rates and figure out where your current bottleneck is and then fix it, okay? Use ChatGPT to help you fix it, okay? Constant analysis of your current funnel is so vital to make it work. The next 1 hour block that you need to implement to become that kind of person is a 1 hour sales call training. Because if you're getting started, then you probably have no clue on how to close people, right? And that is a problem and you need to fix it. And the easiest way to fix it is to make a sales call. Best case, you have someone, a friend who's also on a similar journey and you make the sales call with each other. Everyone gives the sales call for half an hour, right? And the other one is the potential buyer and then you swap the roles. That's the best case and then you give each other feedback. If you don't have someone like that, you just make the call with no one talking back to you and just record it. Recording it is very, very important. Also, if you do it together with a partner, record it. That is extremely, extremely vital, okay? So then watch the recording after that and note down what you should improve. You will learn so many crazy things. You will now think that this is stupid and you don't need to do this. Just try doing it once and you will figure out so many crazy things that you're doing while talking that are so weird maybe, that you maybe need to get rid of. This is so powerful. This is insane. And then really a hack. Before the next recording session the next day, read the notes from the day before so you can actually implement the new learnings right away. And then the last 1 hour block that you need is really within your mind becoming the 10K character. And in order to do that, I would just recommend you to do 3 tasks every single day to keep it as simple as humanly possible. And these are all things that I still do on a daily basis. And that helped me to get from someone who was really broke and was really struggling to someone who can really live a beautiful life and have no financial constraints, whatever. So that really transformed my life by 180 degrees. So I can just honestly recommend you to implement these 3 simple things. First of all, daily workout, keep your body fit, health is wealth. This is way more important than making money. This is the foundation of everything, because you can't do anything if you're not healthy. You can't do anything at all, right? So the second thing is meditate, just 10 minutes a day. I recommend Headspace, amazing app, do that. This will give you so much more clarity and so much more peace of mind, and it will really help you to get in some kind of slow motion mode, okay? Where you're like these guys in Matrix, where they dive through the bullets because everything around you seems to happen slower, because you have more control over the things that happen in your life, because you now control your mind, right? And then the third thing is visualize, okay? So really write down what you want to have achieved and then visualize it already happening in your life. If you just do these 3 things and take yourself 1 hour out of your day to do that, this will really help you to transform your mind to become such a person. And ladies and gentlemen, there's one last step. And because most people are actually not doing this last step, that's the actual reason why most people never see success, even though they may get the first 5 steps right. And what is that? It's accountability. It's having an accountability setup with an accountability partner to keep going, to keep pursuing those tasks. Because even if you have the best strategy, consistent execution is just tough if you're doing it on your own. It's hard, right? So you need an effective accountability system. And this will dramatically boost your success by giving you some structure, helping you with feedback, and helping you with your motivation, and helping you through hard times. The easiest way to do that is find someone who has similar goals as you have. That's the best case. And honestly, find someone who's already executing towards achieving those goals and not just talking about them. And then what you do with this person, make a daily check-in call. Really make it in the morning, because then nothing can get in between. Because if you schedule that check-in call for the evening or throughout the day, there will always be stuff that gets in between. And that's a problem, because then half of your calls won't happen. Okay. But if you do it first thing in the morning, if you schedule that call for 7, 7:30, 8:30, before anything else happens, you won't have a problem, because that's the first thing and you never have to postpone it. So really do that. And then on that call, it's very simple what you do. You discuss your goals with each other. That's what you do once in the beginning only. And then you know each other's goals, and you should write that down on a sheet. And you're both within that sheet, right? You can just do a Google Sheets. Even I'm doing that. And then you list the 3 tasks that have the highest leverage today to get you closer towards your goal. And then you tell your accountability partner, he tells you the 3 tasks. You give each other feedback on them. Are those really the best tasks for the other person in the call to reach his or her goal? And then, very important, you hold each other accountable. On the next day, you ask, have you done all of those accountability tasks yesterday? Right? You ask each other, and you keep each other accountable on the execution of those. And this might sound silly, I know. But it's often the silly things, the stupidly simple things that will help you the most. And this is just a complete game changer to stay on track. Because let me tell you, it is hard to stay on track if you're going solo, if you're by your own all the time. It is hard. So you need such kinds of accountability partners, okay? There's even a lot of research that shows that having a specific accountability appointment with other people increases the likelihood of following through on commitments by up to 95% compared to just 10% when you merely decide to do something on your own. That's a huge difference. And I can really, from my own perspective, that's 100% true, right? So combining this with disciplined daily execution and a strong accountability system makes reaching those 10K a month a very highly probable outcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is the 6-step process. I will now link you a video down below that you should watch next, and I'll catch you there.